Just saying.
Oh, I forgot to get a check from you yesterday.
Oops. Okay.
That'll do it.
Money. It's a thing.
Wives.
What do you got there, Mr. Taylor?
So I just.
You want to do an intro first?
Yeah, let's do an intro.
Okay. Go.
Welcome to another.
Okay, you lost it.
Yeah, I
Your
lost
turn.
it. You do it.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Shot Talk. This is Nick Leghorn with The Truth About Guns. I'm joined here today by...
Dan Zimmerman.
Robert Farrago.
John Wayne Taylor.
And we're just going to talk about what we got on the table and some other stuff.
Yep.
So, John, what do you got?
I have my everyday carry, a custom STI Duty 1 4.0. I put about, 30, 40,000 rounds through this. And
Was that yesterday or?
No, over the last, probably, I guess 4 years, 5 years.
As I remember,
Maybe
that's
6
made out of unobtainium.
So there's not a whole lot of these.
Because of what it's made out of. The metal.
Yeah, it's an aluminum framed gun. It was one of their early ones to do. I was really, I was very hesitant to buy that. I had carried a series of 1911s for a while, always full-size steel frame guns, and I had bought into the myth for years that an aluminum frame gun was just not very reliable. And
Not to mention snappy.
well, yeah, I mean, obviously, the lighter the gun, the more recoil for the
Right.
for the given cartridge. I mentioned that to the then CEO of STI, and he pulled out his everyday carry.
Now he's in Leavenworth, right?
I don't know where he is.
Okay. What was his name?
I can't remember.
Okay.
But
But you and him were tight, though, back in the day.
no, we weren't.
Okay.
It was the first time I'd ever met him.
Okay.
But
It's not owned by some guy in New Mexico, right? Some investor?
yeah, actually,
to
but
be
that's recently. So STI was an ESOP, an employee-owned company.
That's a fable, by the way.
Yeah.
We're starting early, aren't we?
The
Try to keep it light.
well, Aesop, by the way, wasn't a fable. It was Aesop's fables.
Okay, you're
Just
right.
try to keep up.
All right.
So so he pulls out his EDC that he's got. I think he said 30,000 rounds through, and it was running flawlessly. We shot it right then.
And you believed him that was?
You know, I took a chance,
Okay.
and I was well rewarded because since then I have carried. I swapped out. I think on my hip that day was a Colt Combat Elite. That was a great gun, fantastic gun. Still love shooting that gun, but it's not a light gun. Swapped it out with what eventually was this gun, and never looked back. I have. Obviously through T-Tag and some other things, I've shot a lot of pistols, tried a lot of different guns for an everyday carry, and I keep coming back to this one.
But now this one has something interesting on the end of it.
So I shot and shot and shot. I did a series of drills that were great drills that were zero distance drills. In other words, I shot with a target leaning up against me, and I had to push the target away and then fire. Well,
That's a problem.
it was a great training.
Gun goes out of battery, right? If you
Gun goes out of battery.
Right.
Gun slams up against
Can
something.
you demonstrate to our newbies what going out of battery means?
So it's actually much
You can't. Really.
much harder to do now.
Right.
Right.
That's the whole point.
But with that flat flush barrel, what was happening was it was right up against the. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Clear.
So with a barrel like this, what was happening is, as I was drawing, I would push
I wouldn't
in.
necessarily use your hand for that.
I would push in.
I don't know. That's me.
Well, here's the real world. If you can look in the barrel and put your finger down in the 3 points, right? The magazine
Hey, it's a
source.
little dirty there. What's that all
Yeah,
about?
that's the way you treat your guns.
Right.
The magazine source, the breech,
Right.
and the
Ain't it the
bolt
truth?
face.
You reckon?
The gun is in fact clear.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
They're not mythical items. They don't load themselves.
Okay.
So
Unlike what the Lord of the Rings, they have some of those that load themselves.
yeah, no, there's actually I don't think there's guns in Lord of the
No,
Rings.
it's just bows and arrows.
Yeah, I've read it a few
There's
times.
some gunpowder-like substance, but that's about it.
And so
That's
like that.
as close as we get.
Like
Yeah.
that. Probably
Okay.
a dwarf thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
you can't trust those people. Little people, never trust them. Anyway, so
that's going to help our ratings right there.
I'm out.
so
You're not a little person. You're diminutive.
Thank you.
that's not better. Anyway,
How tall are you?
6'2".
You?
Back on topic.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So
We will get
we've
to
actually
the-
got a couple of topics back.
Right.
We've got a ways to go now.
This is about as focused as we get.
So as you draw,
Yeah.
as I draw, I was really just nailing that target. So the gun goes out of battery
Which means the slide gets pushed back.
like this,
Right.
right?
And that means you can't use.
Even the tiniest little bit, and it's just nothing in the world's going to make that gun go off.
if there was
now.
a bullet, you'd be the one right there.
And I'd appreciate it.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it would go through my hand first, but you
Yeah.
know, always
Small comfort.
better them than me, right?
Yep. Right. So that's a
So
problem.
stop.
Yeah.
The bigger problem, though, and
That's
you'll-
why some people use revolvers, right? So because you don't have that same issue.
you know, I've heard of that. That said, the bigger problem is the concept is that you have an opponent on top of you. He's on top of you to strike you, to put you down, to stab you, or to shoot you, to do evil against you. That's why you're drawing a gun in the first place. So you've got to get that opponent off you enough to use your natural weapons as well as to use the firearm. Well, for me,
You're
that
pointing
was...
at your chest when you. Sorry for hitting the microphone. You're pointing at your chest when you said natural weapons there.
Yeah, all sorts of natural weapons. So
Charm.
the so
Feel free to say something over there, dude.
I was
I'm good.
I was nailing the gun in.
I'll be right back. Go ahead. Keep going.
So
Sensors.
there was some poor planning because I built a 2x4 frame, and I used nails to attach the plywood to it that was leaning up against me. And several times when I slammed the barrel forward,
Right into the nail.
right into nails.
Yeah.
So the 30,000, 40,000 rounds that the head of the nails that I put through the gun probably didn't affect the accuracy.
Right.
But
Crown.
the crown was just marred to hell, and
Yeah.
that will radically affect your accuracy pretty fast. So I went from a gun that was really spectacular. I remember a day that for an article we put 2,000 rounds straight through this gun, to prove that this particular gun was reliable. We put 2,000 rounds straight through of a series of different kind of rounds, no cleaning, no lubrication. It ran like a champ. And at the end of that, it was shooting 2.5 to 3 inch groups, where
At what distance?
25 yards, 5-round groups, 25 yards. So by the end of when I finally decided to get it rebarreled, I was shooting 4-inch and larger groups rested at 25 yards, 5-inch groups if I was really, really paying attention and locked everything down, which to me, a 5-inch group rested off a bag when you're nice and happy and tired, that's a 10-inch group plus when you're actually in scared. I know some of the best shooters in the world, and they'll still tell you the same thing. Their precision, their accuracy, it cuts cut in half when they're actually in stress. So for me, that's probably like 4 or 5 times.
Just because there are 4 of us here, I was hoping you could get to the end of this.
Well, so that happens when
Yeah.
you stop changing, right? So when
Right,
you just
okay.
let it go through.
All right.
So what I did was I went back to STI and I said that I wanted a new barrel, but this time I wanted to go ahead and have a suppressed barrel. I have a 45 caliber suppressor. I like to shoot suppressed quite a bit. It's quieter. Obviously, doesn't scare the kids or the dogs or the neighbors. Actually, I
As
don't
much.
have neighbors,
As
but
much. Well,
whatever.
you used to have neighbors before you had the suppressor.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And yeah. Also, if you just like every day hang some fresh carcass on the fence,
Right.
problem takes care of itself.
Okay.
So, had them do that. They
tip.
There it is.
they did a fantastic job. Not only did they rebarrel it, this time to a bushingless bull barrel, but as a pleasant little surprise, they took my original barrel, recrowned it for me, and gave it back to me as well. And I've tested, they both shoot fine. I think that if I wanted to run one or the other, I might change out the springs, but we're back down to, I've got a flat 2-inch accuracy using store-bought rounds. Yesterday I did some low development with a 185 grain Hornady round, moving at about 850 feet per second, not very fast. I got down to flat out 1-inch 5-shot groups at 25 yards, which is plenty good for me.
All right.
So it's back. It's back to fighting
Thanks.
hamstring.
Do you want to, Nick? Have you seen what's on John's Mag?
I have seen what's on John's Mag. It's a good way not to lose. any of your
Exactly.
magazines. Yeah.
It's not safe for work.
Yeah, I got really tired of going to matches and shoots and showing up with a bunch of great magazines and not
Right.
leaving with those magazines. So this
So
was a great
you
way to
drew
do it.
some genitals.
I did.
Not you, somebody did.
Right.
Is
And,
that, are those laser engraved?
those are all laser engraved, and that's how you know it's my magazine.
Okay.
That's how I know
Nobody
it's
else would want them.
my magazine.
All right. Nick, you've got a car.
Kind of.
It's not a
actually
car.
a gun.
Not quite.
It's
The car bought the Desert Eagle
they did.
people.
A
So-
gun's not nearly as dangerous as a car.
No. So
Okay. That's almost as big as a car, though.
Jesus Christ, it's huge.
It's huge.
So anyway, it's
Get that
the
a lot.
Desert Eagle.
Kind of small if you think about
Made
it.
in the USA. It's the 357 version. It's
What? Say something nice about it first.
Can you reach
Okay.
the safety?
I can read.
Oh, you can. It takes a little effort. Yeah.
So here's
See, can Dan reach the safety?
No.
Go on, Dan. Show us, show
I've
us
tried. I've tried. This I can barely grip the damn thing, and no, I can't read.
so here's what I like
Slide
about
mounted
it.
safeties are the worst invention in history of man.
I like the fact that it exists. I like the fact that someone took the time to think, what's the most ridiculous, obnoxious caliber I can make a semi-auto in, and came up with a Desert Eagle in 357 Magnum,
Right.
58.
Because 38
Wait.
Super hasn't been done.
No, of course not.
Who makes a Kunin makes a 357 1911?
1911. They do, but
Right.
they're also
That would probably
ridiculously
not
expensive.
Yeah, and that's probably a great gun.
And
Yeah.
pointless.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is just, it's overbuilt, it's over-engineered. I like that it's a actual gas piston
Right.
driven.
It's a proper Desert
Desert
Eagle.
Eagle.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of using a tilting barrel or something like that, like a Browning action to cycle the action, it's an actual gas piston at the front of this thing that forces the slide back to reset the action. And I like that, which is cool. I like the engineering that goes into
Good
this.
looking gun.
It does have a striking appearance to it.
Badass.
That's a bad.
It
Don't do
looks
that.
different than other guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. You bring that up, people know you're holding a gun.
This is true, and
Yeah.
and in video games and things like that, it looks great. It does a good job.
Is it? I don't play video games because they're too addictive for me. Is it in Call of Duty and stuff like that?
It is indeed.
In 357 or in
think it's
50,
probably
50.
50 Action Express? Right?
Yeah. So that's what I like about the gun. What I don't like the gun is everything else.
Okay. So accuracy, reliability. Yeah.
Actually, accuracy is not too bad. So accuracy, I took it out to a local range. I put a red dot on it.
do you want to say that name? The range. The name of that
The name
range?
of the range is the Shady Oaks Gun Club up in Cedar Park. They did a good job. I put a red dot on it and took it out there, and I was just punching one hole through the paper. Admittedly, it was like a 3-inch hole, but
Right.
it was one hole in the paper.
357's a great round. Come on, we have to
Absolutely.
admit that that's
It's been
Love
around
the round.
forever.
in terms of a self-defense round.
It doesn't
you know,
get much better.
It's
Although it's a lot of recoil, but
It is.
but not in that.
So
thing.
here's
That
Depends on the
thing-
gun, right?
in this, there's not a lot of recoil in it.
Right.
In a 357 mag and like a snub-nosed revolver,
J-frame?
Yes,
yeah,
that's a-
it's
that's a bad
terrible.
thing.
Right.
In this, it's massive. It is the size of the Titanic, and it soaks up recoil like a freaking sponge. It's
right.
great. So it's actually quite pleasant to shoot. It's.
I don't know if they want to be
around
compared to the
9mm.
Titanic, though. That probably is not the best analogy, at least for the company
But
itself.
in terms
Well, we
of
don't work for the company.
I'm just trying to be
in
nice.
terms of size, it's
Yeah.
huge.
Don't say it.
I like that it's a semi-auto with a rimmed cartridge. That makes
Neat.
that's an interesting thing.
Right, yeah.
I like the engineering that went into this.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan on the ergonomics because it's a little large. I'm not a big fan on the roughness on the sides of these things. I think it could be a little more rounded on the trigger, especially the trigger area, just because when you're in recoil, that
Right.
thing snaps around and starts rubbing against the side of your trigger finger,
Makes
and
sense.
especially when you've got all that motion, it starts wearing away at it and makes it a little uncomfortable to shoot.
An owie.
Yeah. I do like that it's got a nice big beaver tail on the back. I
Right.
like this external hammer. I don't like the safety on the slide. I like it on the frame, but to each their own.
Right.
Here's the thing. For the most part, it works, right?
Yeah.
You load it up with...
We did send it back.
You did send it back because it didn't
jamming.
work.
Yeah. It's working now.
But now it works beautifully.
So here's the thing. It works with Full Metal Jacket 38 Special, or sorry, 357 mag. It does not work with Lead Nose 357 mag.
That's interesting.
So if you have the
interesting.
lead nose on the front of it, it just slows that slide up just enough that it doesn't fully go back
Doesn't
into
go to
battery.
battery.
It's a shame. A hard cast 357 Magnum lead nose round, lead round is
phenomenally accurate.
And a great,
Great
hunting,
hunting
round.
round, yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna
gonna
punch a
mushroom.
nice core.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it's not for hunting then?
it's not really for hunting. It's great for a range toy. So I can
Extreme
totally-
carry?
Home defense.
Home defense, maybe not. Getting this out in the middle of the night, you've got 9 rounds in the magazine. That's it.
That's it.
So
Does it make a fairly large fireball?
Compensator.
it does.
yeah.
The compensator in the front does throw, football-sized fireballs.
Okay.
So I like that
like
there's a
that
Picatinny
Feature.
rail.
Not a bug.
Hunting, maybe not, just
Yeah.
because it's only
Right.
9 rounds. It's 38. You only get the full metal jackets to run
357.
properly. Sorry, 357.
Yeah.
Full metal jackets are the only ones that run properly.
What about sound? Would it be fairly loud inside a house?
Here's the thing, it's not that loud. So
Yeah.
50 AE would be loud as heck, but 357, it's got a lot more barrel in it to burn up a lot of that powder than
Right.
some of your other revolvers. So compared
Right.
to like a J-frame, a small snubby, it's going to actually be quieter.
What about something like a Hornady critical defense?
Hornet Critical Defense
Would
would
it
be
fit?
pretty good. Yeah, because again, it's got that metal jacket on the side that's
Right.
going to lube it up just a little bit going into that chamber.
Long
Right.
guy.
Yeah.
So that would make it decent for home defense.
Yeah, it would be
purposes
okay.
that way.
It's just a badass gun, though.
It is a badass gun.
Look, you buy this gun because it looks cool and it's different.
Damn right.
That's it.
I could not fault anyone
Right.
for spending
Range
the
toy.
money on this. I have an MP5 for no other reason that it's the coolest looking thing I own. I
enough.
cannot fault someone for buying this for the same reason.
Amen.
Good. Just
Okay.
use the right rounds in it.
Yeah.
And
Have big hands.
Damn right.
all right, let's quickly move on. Dan.
Now we quickly move on.
Yeah.
Put someone other than him.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Dan, you didn't want to review this gun.
Well, I just don't think I'm the right person to review that.
Well-
I like the gun. The gun feels wonderful in my hand.
There you go.
This
Well, you can
is-
talk a little bit about it.
This is
close that down so the camera
one of
can
the
see.
latest Micro 9s from Kimber. But as you can see, this is a special edition. This is the Bel Air model.
Dang, girl.
It says
And it
special
looks
edition.
just like your 1964 Bel Air. It would fit beautifully in it. It
So-
says, my
so-
Carter grips.
So would you be the Fresh Prince then?
I don't know that.
Nick made a joke.
hadn't
Look
even
at
considered that. Yeah, he made it funny. That's good.
No.
Have not shot it. Feels wonderful in the hand. Feels extremely solid. Robert will be reviewing this.
Yes. Why did you want me to review it as opposed to yourself?
Oh, because nobody will do the snark and
the obscure
pop culture
analogies,
references.
you know.
given its color and design, like Robert. So I just thought he was the right guy to do it. But it physically, mechanically, it feels really nice.
Do we think that's girly?
I think it's jeweled.
Not if you're filming a remake of Route 66, then,
Right.
you know,
That's a girly gun.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people will think the Robin Zig Blue looks girly.
That's not a bad thing.
I certainly
always.
would carry it and hold it, assuming it's as reliable as we all hope it is. But because it does feel,
Yeah, the Kimber
Yeah,
Solo
wonderful.
was not the most reliable firearm on the planet.
I don't even recall the results of that.
Speaking
review.
of recall, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, the Kimber Solo is a great looking gun. Have you seen? Kimber makes some interesting designs.
I
Very.
have not shot it.
I like
Okay.
the design of that gun a lot.
What do you think, John? First impressions?
It's
clean,
little.
first
so
of all,
it's
Right, for
It's
a smaller-handed person like me,
It's
it's
only because
great.
Robert hasn't shot it yet.
So there's a couple mistakes.
No rounds through it.
I'm holding it, and there's a couple mistakes. So one is this is a tiny little gun with almost no handle
We can take that off
whatsoever.
if you want.
With almost no handle whatsoever,
Oh, yeah. No, I don't have one.
That's okay.
and for very very little cost. Kimber could have checkered that front strap. That's going to be really important because
No, but if it was
just
checkered, it would ruin the
yeah.
backstrap.
But as I hold it, it's
Yeah.
immediately sliding off. It is
Yeah.
a taper. It's tapered and it's just.
That's going to be a huge problem, especially when we can only
It's
get
going to
two
be a
fingers on
massive
there.
problem, right?
Here's the. I don't know if that gives you that tiny.
No.
little-
No.
They did checker the backstrap.
It's nice and tucked in, so my
Yeah.
hand's really
Well, it's a
just going to
slotted
slide
backstrap. It's the
right
same-
off.
It's the same 1911 style backstrap
Yeah.
as everything else, but
Right.
recoil springs in there.
right.
So I haven't obviously shot the gun. You're going to experience that as a huge problem. The other is there's a lot material just right here that could have been undercut. That would have given you a higher grip.
Yeah.
So neat gun, pretty gun. Can't figure out why, considering what the cost would actually be for just checkering that from the factory, why that wasn't done on such a little gun.
It's
I can
design.
understand it, if I may. I completely understand why they didn't want to checker that, because it takes away from the aesthetic.
Certainly it does.
So
Yeah.
the gun, this is not This is not a proper self-defense gun.
Okay.
Is the way I would do that. This is like a barbecue gun. This is something that
Some
Yeah, it's
barbecue
an
pocket gun.
an opera gun. Then this is something you take to a high-class event, right?
An opera
yeah.
gun. I like that.
Opera gun. Like opera glasses, right? You don't use opera glasses for hunting.
The question is it an Oprah gun?
Is it one of Oprah's favorite things?
Yes. Your cheese was
Does
one of Oprah's.
Oprah have a favorite gun?
She should do.
She should.
Just to point out that John has a dairy.
Yeah, my family runs and owns Pure Luck Organic Farm and Dairy. We make goat cheese.
And it's very sought after goat cheese.
It's the best goat
Now
cheese.
back
in
to
the
our
world.
regular.
No, wait, just want to point out that it was Oprah's favorite cheese.
It was Oprah named it as her Oprah's favorite, Oprah's best.
That's a
the
little cheesy.
hopelessly blue. Yeah, yeah, and thank God for that woman because
Hopelessly Blue, you called it?
named after my sister Hope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
thought it was like named after manic depressive person of some kind.
No, that's horrible.
But back to the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well-
So I
what are the clever names you have for your cheese? Do you have any?
dear God,
They're all named
Can we
after
stay on topic
children
for
in
more
the
than 30
family.
seconds at a
They're
time?
named after children?
Yeah, all
let's-
children
come on,
in the family.
Quickly, come on, what do you got?
There's the Hopelessly Blue. There's the Claire de Lune. There's the June's Joy. That's
That's
the
it? Okay.
that's the trend.
Okay.
Feels extremely solid. Doesn't it?
It does. I like that
Right
trigger.
until it records.
That trigger's excellent.
Here's the thing. It's a Colt Mustang at the end of the day. right?
That's what it
So-
is.
Very much the case.
So it's a rotating pin on the trigger. It's not a straight comeback on like the regular 1911. It's got the weird safety on the side, which isn't a full slide safety. It's just the frame safety. I'm not really a big fan of the Mustang form factor, just because I can only get two fingers down
big
there,
hands.
and I got huge hands. That's me. I get why they didn't want to do stippling. I agree it's a problem if you're going to actually carry this on a day-to-day basis. But really, the only time I'm going to grab this is when I want to show it off, right? So it's when I'm going somewhere that I want to show, hey, I got the coolest gun. So maybe I don't know, a shoulder holster.
Shoulder holster. That's just you disappear in your armpit. You
Can
just
we-
throw it in.
Yeah.
Or we
What do I
could just pass a lanyard through the hammer. You could wear it as a
Yeah.
You can.
Although it would be pointing in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
at that
nobody's
point.
going to ever load this gun.
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
It's not a gun.
All right, we got a little bit more time. Let's take a look at this one. John, you're going to be reviewing this
Yeah, so I seem to have a bit of a
Henry thing going.
Henry thing going and a lever gun thing going. I've reviewed quite a few of them this year. I still don't mind. This is one of the kinds of guns that I just never get tired of.
Do you still have lever fever after all
I
this time?
do. You know, I was. There's never been a time in my life that I didn't have a lever gun.
You were born with a lever gun.
My 94 was stored underneath my crib when I was a baby.
I didn't know it was your
literally, that was
94. That was-
this is mine. That's why possession 9/10 law.
So it's literally true. Since the moment you were born, you've always had a lever.
I've always had a lever gun.
So
And,
what model is this?
so this is the
That was
Henry.
that was your big line right there. People
is
were
the
waiting
Henry
for
Big
that.
Boy.
Keep us on track here.
What's interesting about this one, and I've reviewed several of the Henrys. The 44, the Silver Edition,
Silver
was
Boy,
one of
yeah.
the best lever guns I've ever shot. Loved that gun. This one is in 41 Magnum.
Now let's talk about that
I've
caliber.
never seen a 40. I've never seen a
41
lever
is.
gun in 41. 44, 357.
Yeah.
But that middle caliber, no. And it's a caliber I love.
And just to be clear, this is the big boy steel.
Yeah, the big boy steel in
Which
41 Magnum.
we like the fact you're not worried about getting
Yeah,
it
I like that
scratched.
much
I can't
better.
stand that golden thing. That
Or even the
Oh,
silver looks
I-
beautiful, but I'd be worried about scratching it, getting it all scratched
I had
up.
a butter boy.
I'd take
So-
that everywhere.
I
I'd
had
scratch it
I
up, then
know.
refinish
butter
it.
boy?
Yeah, the butter bar, the
Is that a
brass,
sandwich?
an all brass receiver that was a 44 that Henry made that I reviewed. I loved it. It looked great.
Absolutely.
But you're constantly trying to polish that thing
Yes.
because it's just gets all filthy.
Or you just let it go, man. You just let it go,
No.
and you take
Not
that
Nick.
thing out.
Nick's a computer
you shoot it, you
programmer.
shoot it, you shoot
OCD.
it, and then like in 3 years when it's not looking great,
You polish her up.
you polish that thing right up.
All right, so talk to us about 41 caliber.
yeah, learn
Wow.
me some
Okay,
41.
I'll just jump right in. So going back in the John Wayne Rolodex in my head, I like the 41. So the first time I ever was really exposed to the 41 caliber was a hunt, an antelope hunt in Wyoming that I did with a friend of mine. I bought a single action, a Ruger Bisley Blackhawk in 44. He brought one in 41. We both shot it. really, I really enjoyed the 41 caliber. It's another, Elmer Keith inspired cartridge. I think it was 63, maybe 64, when he started working on that one. It was the idea that he wanted something in between the 357 Magnum and the 44 Magnum. But oddly enough, if memory serves, it wasn't originally the idea that it was a hunting caliber. 41 was supposed to be a police caliber. And there would be two major loads, or two loads. One, I think, was a 210 grain load, something just a little over like 1,000 feet per second, maybe 1,100 feet per second. And then a much heavier load, same 210 grain load, but pushing 1,500 feet per second. Now we can go even faster. Either one of those, the slower load would be a man stopper any day of the week. Compare that to a 45 ACP or a 357 Magnum. That 1,500 feet per
44 is
second.
going to be.
And that was the idea, that the
Yeah.
44 might be too much for police work.
Right.
The 357 Magnum somehow might not be enough.
Sure.
They must have been big old boys back then,
I built them tough.
So the 41 was invented.
Right.
Great ballistics for a handgun caliber.
So what about, we got a rifle caliber
Now
here.
we've got it in a rifle. So
Why would anybody say, okay, I need a 41 caliber lever action rifle?
So it's actually, the reason why somebody would say that is because they're good at math.
Nick.
Right?
There you
so
go.
one of the things that we see that becomes really obvious, anybody who's spent any time behind a chronograph with a lever gun in a traditional pistol Magnum caliber sees a massive,
Right, yeah.
really significant gain in velocity. And as we know, speed kills, right? So that 1,500 feet per second that you might have gotten out of your 6-inch revolver, you're going to add several hundred feet per second to this, making it truly lethal. There is no debate that a 41 Magnum out of a 16 or 20-inch barrel is lethal on white-tailed deer at 100 yards. Anybody who argues that is just not doing the math. Now, obviously, you got to put the bullet in the right place.
Right.
But that means you have a gun with very little recoil.
Yeah, that's important.
Right.
Very little recoil, several rounds out of it. I mean, when I was doing the last 44 Magnum Henry review, my then 11-year-old son just poured rounds out of that thing, full house loads out of 44 Magnum. He had no problem whatsoever.
So 41 would be even less problem.
And that gun didn't have a butt pad.
Right.
That was a metal, metal
plate.
at the end.
So this will be a peach to shoot.
Oh, it'd be a joy. And realistically, there's nothing in the state of Texas that you can't take with this gun.
Right.
So
And you've
question
got,
then.
7-8 rounds in that thing?
So 41 versus 357, right? So we've got two pistol calibers. They're both going to see that same increase in velocity out of a rifle length barrel.
Yeah.
What would be the benefit of going with a 41 versus 357?
Just mass, right? So F equals M times V, squared. So that's it. So instead of shooting that 180 grain round, now you're shooting a 210, 220 grain round. So, and shooting at the same speed. So just a little more massive. If you're shooting a hard cast round, which is the only thing I'll hunt with, is a hard cast, flat, I think it's pronounced a mi-pla. And it just cores through anything you want to hit. What that allows you to do, and this is something people really often don't think about, is when you're actually hunting, it's great when you can get an animal to just line up, quartering away on a deer. Yay, you got that shot. But man, maybe that's that late season buck, maybe that's that very early season buck that's in the rut, and he's not interested in eating, and he's just chasing does, and he's never gonna stop, right? He's not gonna put his head down. He's moving all the time, and you've got to take shots at angles that you otherwise wouldn't want to take. The nice thing about a heavy hard cast round, it's gonna plow through anything to reach the vitals from angles that you wouldn't otherwise be able to hit.
All right. I think we're pretty much at the end of this.
That's-
We're coming up to 20 minutes somewhere. Dan, you haven't said very much. Can you close us out with some closing words about the Second Amendment under Donald Trump?
I think a lot of people are fairly encouraged by what they've heard so far. And it's like all things, trust but verify. We certainly are probably better off than we would have been had the election gone the other way.
Certainly.
But
No question.
yeah, I don't think there's any question. But let's see who's appointed to the Supreme Court.
Also, of course, Hearing Protection Act being the low-hanging fruit, we reckon?
It's now the most viewed piece of legislation for the upcoming session on the internet.
Really?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Interesting. That's good. A lot
And
of.
then there's concealed carry reciprocity.
Well, what do you think? Let's we have a
That'll
little
be
extra
tougher.
time.
Yeah,
Let's quickly
tougher
go
road
there.
ahead.
Okay. What do you think? Yes or no? Is it going to happen?
No,
You don't think it'll happen?
no.
Nick?
No.
John?
National reciprocity? No, I don't think that'll happen during this administration.
Huh. But everybody wants it to happen on our side, of course.
Well,
I
Yeah.
get the feeling it's going to be the trade-off.
I
right?
think, yeah.
I
It's-
agree.
Donald Trump is going to trade. Okay, we won't do concealed carry reciprocity, but we'll do something else. So it's
Maybe hearing protection.
exactly. You already have concealed carry in the vast majority of the states. People are generally happy with how it is right now. It could be better.
Right.
If you're in California, Hawaii,
Exactly.
Maryland,
there's
New Jersey.
there's places it can be helped, but in general, it's okay at the moment. We have the right to defend ourselves enshrined. It's happy. So if he can trade off that little incremental step for something else, getting something else done that is a huge benefit to the Second Amendment, I think he's going to make that trade, and I think it's a smart move.
What would you like to see?
I love the Hearing Protection Act.
Yep.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
So that's one I'd love to see. I'd also like to see some of the Obama executive orders on imports change.
Oh yeah.
That
Sporting.
would- well, I think it would make some.
We've
Go
got those
ahead.
M1s just sitting, waiting for us to import them
Korean?
for Korea. We've
Yeah.
got Chinese M14s
Yep.
that are stacking up that they have in Canada that we can't get because it's
Right.
Chinese M14s.
Right.
There's a ton of stuff out there that's really cool and I really want to shoot,
Right.
but I can't.
I'm guessing that log jam's going to be broken.
I hope so, because some of those are what everybody considers classic American firearms.
Yes, exactly.
It's a great heritage, and I'd
Reload
love
the
to see people
CMP
shoot.
with all
That's right.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about SBRs?
I've never. I'd love to see SBRs fall off the registry.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that
Short
just
barreled
don't get.
revolvers.
Rifles.
I mean,
Barrel length less than 16 inches.
right.
There's no logical reason.
There's not, especially with what
Yeah,
pistol
that-
calibers will do.
No, it's
And
crazy.
especially the AR pistol craze. Like
Yes.
there's no functional difference between a pistol and a short barrel rifle at this point.
But wouldn't the antis go crazy on that?
You
Don't
know,
go crazy on anything. Everything will be the end of this world
right,
as we know it.
Right.
And,
Chicken Little Moon Bats
and the fall
will
of
scream at
civilization.
everything.
So, and that seems to be one of the things that Trump is best at, saying, I know that they're going to do that, so I'm just going to do it anyway. At least that's the reputation, and he seems to have plowed through any controversy he's experienced so far. So the hope is, gun-wise, he'll continue that on that path.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. This has been the Truth About Guns Shot Talk. Join us again next week when we'll be discussing
Something else.
something else.
Is it
Or
too
maybe-
early for lunch?
No, it's never too early for lunch.
Good.
Let's do that.
10:30?
Barbecue.
Second breakfast.
Let's go.
All right.
Rock and roll.
11's easy.
That's it.